to start the recording. So so we're not discussing this part. The suggested practical is for this circuit. So if we are trying to keep this, make this device to work, the location where we have placed this equipment, this should be simultaneously dark and warm. If that is the case, then only you can have the light glow up. So name a possible location where this might be useful. A dark place and a warm place giving you some sort of signal. So if it is not dark, you're not going to get the signal. If it is not warm, you're not going to get the signal either.
So it uses a sensor to detect whether there's a fire in a dark room or not.
Now that would be a difficult thing to do, because if you have a fire, this would not be dark anymore, which means in that case, the light sensor is going to become what? 1. So your output will not work. So if it's used to detect some sort of fire, there will be light available, right? Along with heat. So it will not be dark and warm anymore. It will be light and warm, bright and warm. So if it is bright and warm, you don't have the light glowing. So mentioning a fire might not be a good idea. I'm not sure about the mask scheme. I'm going to look into it. But what I feel like that mentioning the fire, because that necessarily brings in the idea that light will also be an associated output energy form. So I think using the word fire is not a good idea.
Sir.
Yes.
স্যার আমার একটা প্রশ্ন ছিল যে দুইটা 1 মানেই হচ্ছে দা পজিটিভ আউটপুট, একটা 0 মানেই নেগেটিভ আউটপুট, রাইট?
For an AND gate, that is. For an AND gate. হ্যাঁ বলো।
এটা কি আমরা স্যার অন্ধকারে কোনো অ্যানিমালের প্রেজেন্স ডিটেক্ট করতে পারবো, যে ওয়াইল্ড অ্যানিমাল আসছে আমাদের টেরিটরিতে? হিট রেডিয়েট করে
for a thief, like for night security or like an alarm?
Well, if we can, if the presence of that entity can give us detectable temperature variation, that's a very important thing. So you have to place a temperature sensor, which is usually a thermistor, typically speaking. So do you think you're going to place it in a location where the presence of an intruder or an animal is going to raise the temperature of the ambient high enough that your temperature sensor will be able to detect that? Now, it might be. Because this is an open question, we can assume that the temperature sensor is sensitive enough to detect those variations. That can as well be a correct response. I would agree to this. But there are easier things that I discussed in the last class already. You are trying to use, let me tell you my solution, or a person I feel too comfortable. We are trying to use this thing to detect a dark place that is also warm. So think about a scenario where a location is not supposed to be dark and warm at the same time. Let's say a location is supposed to be dark and cold. Then if it suddenly becomes warm, you should get that information. Or let's say a location is warm and illuminated at the same time. If that location suddenly becomes dark but still remains warm, then you're going to get the light output. So think about this change, that either from light and warm, it becomes dark and warm when you get the signal, or think about a scenario where it was dark and cold and it suddenly became warm. That's why you're getting that signals. Can you think of any such examples?
A cold storage where there is no light.
Sir, a fire broke out.
A silo.
If you a cold storage would be a very good idea, or inside the refrigerator would be a very good idea. That would be one of my preferred practical use for the circuit. I mean, in a cold storage or in a refrigerator, you would appreciate it to be cold and dark, because cold storage is refrigerator. Inside the refrigerator, when the refrigerator is closed, there is no person, so you don't need light source. So this location is supposed to be dark to begin with at any part of the day. And then if it is supposed to be cold, it is supposed to be maintained cold. So if you are losing your cryogenics, or if you're losing your cooling mechanisms, then the temperature can start to rise, and beyond a certain level of rise, you will have that warning lamp go off, which means it will start to blink or light up. So it can be used to detect warmth in a naturally dark place. That's one of the example for that thing. So one of you also mentioned once again fire. I would not go for the idea for a fire, because fire would essentially associate simultaneous output of light as well. If you have light coming up in any of the sensors, then this will give you 1, this will become 0, and that way the lamp would always be off. So fire naturally associate bright light along with its existence. বুঝছি কি বলছি?
জি স্যার।
Yes, sir.
আচ্ছা, সো তাহলে আমরা ফায়ার যদি না বলি, সো এটা রেফ্রিজারেটরের জন্য একটা হতে পারে। ক্যান ইউ থিংক অফ এনি আদার practical use for this one? So refrigerator was the case where I was saying that this was naturally dark and cold, from which it changed to dark and warm. That's why we had input, or we had the light glowing up. How about it was bright and warm, from which it became dark and warm. And warm. এই এক্সাম্পলটা কেউ দিতে পারবা? This one, the refrigerator fits this situation pretty well. এটা কি বুঝছো যে রেফ্রিজারেটর এটা কি
গ্রিনহাউস বলা যাবে না?
হ্যাঁ,
গ্রিনহাউস লাইট লেভেল কল করলে লাইট চলে উঠবে, ওয়ার্ম আছে।
greenhouse can be actually a good example. Yes, for example, if you want, did you study photoperiodism in your biology yet?
No, sir.
Acha. Let me just tell you one thing, that one of the key primary factors, because the greenhouse resistance just popped up, that's why I'm telling you this, so that you can make better sense out of it. One of the key factors that control the fruit bearing time of a certain plant for different seasons is the duration of light day and night that it detects from its sensors. That behavior of its fruit bearing cycle is what we call photoperiodism. So for example, certain fruits are only produced in the winter, where the day period is short, night is long. Certain fruits are only seasonal fruits are available in the summer, where the night period is short and the day period is small. You can trick the tree to think that it is not that season if you can maintain that optimum temperature. For example, let's say you have mango trees which you have grown inside a greenhouse, or maybe you have grown a greenhouse around a mango tree, because you want this mango tree to think, even when it's winter, that it is actually summer. So what do you need to do? You need to somehow increase the temperature inside the greenhouse, and you need to make illumination to the tree that will be identical to the summer, which means in the day period you will be feeding it from the sun. As the brightness of the sun goes down, you will be allowing, let's say, 2-3 hours of additional lighting from your own money, let's say electricity, and then you're going to switch off the lights, to giving that tree the sensation of that is now darkness. Now it is going to sense that, well, the day period is longer, the temperature is hot, so it must be summer, so I must make fruit. So you might as well be able to make fruits out of this fruit tree in the cold of winter as well. That's artificially making fruit, but that's also possible. That's one way to produce a lot of crops in the greenhouses as well. So what Abdullah just proposed, that we can essentially achieve this in a greenhouse, can actually sound like a good idea. That as long as it was bright and warm, we don't have any problem. The moment it becomes dark and warm, we're going to have some signal that we need to light up those so that we can maintain the production. Sounds
Sir.
Yes.
Sir, child incubator কি হয় একটা এক্সাম্পল এখানে?
How the child incubator maybe, but how do you propose that the incubator become dark from bright condition it becomes too dark?
স্যার যদি কোনো টেকনিক্যাল ফেলিয়ার হয় ইয়েতে, তাহলে যাতে তাহলে যদি ডার্ক হয়ে যায় তাহলে সিগন্যাল দিবে এটা।
It might be applicable, but I cannot actually see the relevance. It might be applicable, but I'm having difficulty understanding its significance. I'll look at the mark scheme to see what they have to propose.
So can it be like a storage warehouse where it should be like dark and cool?
Yeah, you said that in the first place that this thing can be used for a cold storage location, cold storage, or it can be used for inside a refrigerator, because these are the places where you would otherwise appreciate to have cold temperature, which is not the case over here. Okay, here the numbers are all messed up because I did not bother to renumber them as the way these were actually synced. So in this PDF, you'll see that these questions are in the same sequence as this mark scheme. So we have 9, 10, 9, and then 10. So this is the fourth question. So 9, 10, 9, 10. This is the question that we're doing. So what? No. Are we not doing this one? Yes.
স্যার এটা না
এটা তো না, কোনটা করতেছি? আচ্ছা সরি, এটা তো আমরা বাদ দিয়ে গেছি, এটা আলাপ করছিলাম, সরি। This is question number 11, somewhere down the line. এই যে এটা, the question in this mark scheme says that warning if temperature in a closed or dark space, example refrigerator or kiln, reaches too high a value. আচ্ছা, a dark place, what is a kiln?
So where bricks are cooked, like brick kilns?
Isn't that blast furnace?
Yeah, it is also called kilns as far as I know.
Oh,
Yes, sir. Brick nails বলে।
acha, okay, yeah. I've seen them, but I didn't know they are called kiln. How do you pronounce that? Kiln or kin?
Clean.
Why isn't it?
Kiln, kiln, kiln.
So L is pronounced kiln. Okay. Good shade. Acha, ঠিক আছে, হ্যাঁ, so it can be used in a refrigerator kiln which is too high a value. So if you say naturally dark place where you have too high of a temperature, NB, to switch on a lamp when it is dark and warm, not accepted. So you cannot only mention that what it's going to do, other than actually mentioning a practical appliance application. So only to mention that how it's going to work out is not going to score you that mark. That's what this NB is about. Pretty neat, I believe, but I think that made sense. সবাই বুঝে গেছে এই কোশ্চেনটা? I want to move on.
sir.
আচ্ছা, so here we have this question once again. হ্যাঁ, আব্দুল্লাহ বলো।
স্যার C1 এর স্যার যে স্যার ল্যাম্পে যে রিলে ক্যান ইউজ করতেছি এটা আমরা বলতে পারি না যে আদারওয়াইজ স্যার লার্জ কারেন্ট মে ফ্লো ইনটু দ্য ল্যাম্প এন্ড ডিস্ট্রয় ইট, এজন্য সেপারেট সার্কিট ইউজ করতেছি।
In this case, it says that the lamp cannot provide enough power, current for lamp or equivalent, or allows remote lamp. What you're proposing to say that the circuit cannot provide large current. This you basically said this thing, right?
এটা রিভার্সটা বলতে পারি না যে আদারওয়াইজ লার্জ কারেন্ট মে ফ্লো ইনটু দ্য ল্যাম্প এন্ড which may destroy it.
Yes, you can. Actually, I would not appreciate. I would not like, not appreciate. I would not like to write the other thing, because electronic devices which are made from semiconductors and diodes and doping and those kind of stuffs. Electronic devices are usually always operated at low voltage. They are not used for bulk power supply. They are used for sensors and make a decision. They are sort of like the what can I say, like the president of the country. They don't do much. They just say what to be done. Then the army does the stuff. বুঝছো কি বলছি?
Yes, sir.
So typically, the electronic part of a circuit actually works with a pretty low voltage and make the decision part. It works like the brain. Then the whole bulk of the circuit does the actual job. So if we say that, then we have, if you want to say it in this form, you would say, you have to say that if the gates are, if required power of the lamp is supplied to the sensors, this will burn out. You could say that.
Yes, sir.
Which you will say.
Yes, sir.
Question number 10, let's have a look at this question. Figure 10.1, A is a 1000 ohm resistor, C is a transistor, D is a lamp, S is a 9 volt supply. Name the component labeled B. What do you call this component?
Thermistor.
Thermistor.
Mr.
So এই নেমটাতে স্পেলিং মিস্টেক হলে মাস্কারা দিবে। সো এইগুলোতে স্পেলিং মিস্টেক করবা না। At 100 resistance, the resistance of B is 800 ohm. At 100 resistance, the resistance of B is 25 ohm. In terms of the PD across B, explain what happens in the circuit as the temperature varies from 20 degrees Celsius to 100 degrees Celsius. So I want you kids to understand this thing and tell me something about this. So they have given this, the supply of this voltage. So let me take this out. Okay. So the question tells us this voltage supply. This is a descriptive question, and here you have to pretty much describe the entire function of this circuit. So it's a pretty neat.
স্যার আমি অ্যাটেম্প করি।
এক মিনিট বাবা. Okay, so we have this thing. So let me just label this voltage supply over here. So Sabi, I'll definitely take your answer. I'll take answers from everyone of you who want to participate. But remember, this is a 4-mark question. Keep this in your head. So you have to give enough information which will be unique. I mean, not the same information written in different set of words, so that you can score 4 marks out of it. And as I have a look in terms of PD across B. So this is the key term that you have to design your answer around. In terms of PD across B, so what voltage is available across this component is basically what they are expecting the answer to write you about. Explain what happens in the circuit as the temperature varies from 20 degrees Celsius to 100 degrees Celsius. So we're going to start with the low temperature, and we're going to slowly go to a high temperature, and we want to explain what is happening to the circuit. Yes, Sabir, you can start.
As the temperature increases, the resistance of the thermistor decreases, so the potential difference around across the thermistor decreases as well. So since it is at the bottom of the junction in the potential divider, the potential difference across that resistor, sorry, unnamed resistor ke C bolbo?
No, C is already labeled as this component, so you might as well label it something else. Let's say I'm going to label this as Z.
So the potential difference across Z decreases as well. This means less current passes through the transistor, and therefore enough current from the supply cannot pass through D. Therefore, the lamp D does the brightness of the lamp D gradually decreases as the temperature varies towards 100 degrees Celsius until it is completely off at 100 degrees Celsius. That's it, sir.
I feel that's pretty much fulfilling. Sabir pretty much covered everything. আচ্ছা, hold up. Shafat, তুমি যে রেসপন্ড দিছো যে we might as well actually have a car when the headlights will be turned on automatic when it gets dark and the engine is hot. This is actually achievable. Safa, তুমি যেটা বলছো ঠিক আছে. This can be used. All although not very practical, but it can be, you can work in that fashion. I'm not saying not very practical because of one reason, that the headlight of a car is actually a device that is used for the benefit of the driver and also to be used so that it does not make a problem for the other people in the road. If you have a scenario like this, that would mean that you practically have no manual control on the switch. So if the engine is hot and it is dark outside, it will automatically off, which means, let's say every once in a while, you will be running under a street lamp. Think about it. When it will not be dark anymore, your headlight is gonna go off. So every single time you will be running under a street lamp, your headlight is gonna blink. Might not be a good idea.
Okay, sir.
বুঝছো কি
Sir,
বলতে?
do we
হ্যাঁ
sensor to
স্যার
see?
প্র্যাকটিক্যাল প্রবলেমটা বুঝছো?
হ্যাঁ স্যার
আচ্ছা, so এটা হইতে পারে, but if you are driving in a, let's say, country road where there is no street lamps or something like that, and you're pretty much the only person, then you can have this automated system. But this automation would not be very useful unless it really is used for detecting variation and perform against it. So that's just my opinion, but it might have some other smart users if smarter people than me think about it. Yes, Sabi, you are saying?
Sir, the problem of the street lights, এই দুই সেন্সর গুলা ইঞ্জিনের ঠিক পাশে রাখা যায় না ইনসাইড, যাতে the lights does not affect them
In that case, they will be continuously in darkness. They'll be always in,
continuously dark.
yeah,
That's the thing.
if they're always in dark, in that case, your only temperature variation would be the engine, which means every single time
Yes.
you turn on the engine, whether it's day or night, as long as whenever the engine becomes hot, your headlight will blow up. It's not going to be affected by the lab brightness scenario because you are keeping it under the hood, so it means it cannot sense any light. As long as the hood is down, you have to assume that everything in that under that hood is dark. But you will see.
Yes, sir. So
You'll be wasting energy in the day period.
I understand.
Sure. Okay, if I go back to this question, what Sabit just explained was actually pretty outstanding. So if anyone of you would like to attempt something different, I'm all ears. If I just summarize this whole thing, what I want you to understand that whenever, the question says that the temperature is equal from 20 to 100. So when it was 20, the resistance was high. When it was 100, the resistance is low. Okay. So one way to go for this answer with maybe the least amount of words is that as temperature varies from 20 to 100 Celsius, thermistor resistance increases, PD across it, thermistor resistance decreases, thermistor resistance decreases, comma, PD across thermistor decreases, so PD across the resistor Z also decreases, base current decreases. As a result, the current flowing through the bulb also decreases. So it will check a sentence, full stop. So the brightness of the bulb D decreases from high to low, and it might go off as the temperature gets closer to 100 degrees Celsius. I'm going to use it might go off because the question does not essentially tell me what is the required current value for this bulb. It doesn't tell me that. So I should not assume that it will be turned off. All that I can say that it will become dimmer. That I know for a fact. But is it going to be turned off or is it not going to be turned off? I cannot say this for sure. That's why, but I still don't want to miss the mark if that was a inclusive description of the mark scheme. So I'm going to say the lamp might turn off close to 100 degrees Celsius. বুঝছো কি বলছে? বলবান?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
ঠিক আছে? So then it says once again, such a practical use for this circuit. What do you think?
Bakery.
The temperature is becoming too high. The light is going up, which means temperature, if the temperature is falling, we're going to have the signal light going up. Yeah, we can use it for bakery. Sure, why not? So
What about a furnace?
yeah, any sort of this is, I mean, this is pretty simple. I want you to think it in this format. The way this device is going to work is that for a low temperature, the light will glow. So you can use this circuit to detect low temperature where you would not otherwise appreciate low temperature. So if you want a certain high temperature to exist in that environment, where falling below a certain low temperature is something that you want to avoid, that's basically why this circuit is applicable. So a furnace, kiln maybe, or baking oven, those things, or maybe a brooder machine. Do you guys know what a brooder machine is? Brooder machine.
No, sir.
A brooder machine that heats up eggs and make chickens out of eggs.
Chickens out of eggs.
An incubator.
An incubator.
Is that not called a brooder machine? Yeah, I think now that you just say the word incubator, I feel confused. I think the word is actually incubator. I think incubator is, I'm not sure, so I might as well look at this. How to make any egg incubator? Yeah, incubator is the thing that actually was, okay, so what is a brooder machine?
So it's same. Brooder is
Incubator is
used for
for
chicks.
hatching eggs, and brooder is for like keeping the environment like that so that the chickens lay more eggs.
Oh, acha, I'm sorry. Yeah, incubator is for hatching the eggs, and brooder machine is so that the chickens or the hens are kept comfortable at a certain temperature so that they don't die. Okay, my bad. Yeah, so this can be also used for incubators because you would not want the temperature of the incubator to fall below a certain level so that you don't, so some of your eggs don't hatch. If you want all of your eggs to hatch, you might want to maintain infant temperature. So any applicable locations where we would appreciate a certain high level of temperature is needed, if the temperature falls below a certain value, we would want some sort of warning. This circuit can be used. Love you kids. আচ্ছা এরপর কোশ্চেনটা দেখি আমরা। ওকে, সো কোশ্চেনটা পড়ো আগে, পরে আমি কোশ্চেন নিয়ে যাচ্ছি। Might as well actually take it there and ask you kids to keep it short. No. I don't want help from Bing for the time being. So this question is a bit longer than this, but okay. Read the question, see if you can answer some parts of it before I go ahead into the discussion. By the way, this connection means that there is no elliptical connection between them. They could have just made an overlap, but they didn't for whatever reason. So this curved wire means this wire is going over that vertical wire. So these two wires are not elliptically touching each other.
Sir, এ হচ্ছে resistance decreases. Sir,
Think. All right. So what do you think?
sir, B2 te help agbe.
Okay. Okay. So আমি সার্কিটের পারপাসটাকে তোমাদের বুঝি। সার্কিটের পারপাস হচ্ছে যে whenever the dark room would be used, this circuit can sense the amount of ambient light of the dark room. Do you guys understand what a dark room is? Just before I get with this idea.
Photography use করেছি
অন্ধকার room।
Yeah, the purpose of a dark room is to develop the photographic celluloid films or the typical, not the digital pictures, because all the cameras, most of them are now digital cameras. But back in the day, there used to be films, and you had to develop those films with appropriate chemical reactions with a certain duration of time, and that would give you the negatives of those films. So that negative films were to be developed out of the camera film container in an otherwise darkened room, so that those images do not get overexposure and get destroyed. So the room is practically dark. It is maintained at a very low intensity red color light, so that people can walk around. But that color of light actually cannot do the uh, chemical reaction that is required to take the picture. So bottom line, to develop the traditional celluloid films, we need to have an otherwise darkened room so that the quality of the pictures are not deteriorate. So this device or this sensor was designed by a student, so that if there is more than acceptable amount of light in the dark room when the dark room is in use, this will give us a warning. So it says further that when the dark room is in use, have a look at this paragraph. When the dark room is in use, the switch is moved to position P. So you have to understand that, does this mean the switch becomes vertical, or does this mean the switch becomes upward left? The switch is moved to position P means which is how the switch moves.
From Q to P, like the end.
So this is my question that I'm trying to ask you right now. When the question, I mean, what I'm trying to ask you, the switch is moved from in position Q, moving the switch from position P and position Q. When the switch is moved to position P, does this mean the switch becomes vertical, or the switch becomes like this? Which one does it mean?
Like this।
Like this, yes, a diagonal one.
The diagonal one, not the vertical one. এটা কি বুঝতেছো সবাই?
yes sir
So PQ are the two vertical options, which means these are our two possible choices for this point. Now, this is what I need you to understand. Whenever the circuit room is in use, this switch will be placed over here. So assume that this switch is currently over here. So when the switch is currently over here, this logic gate will have the one input from the plus 6 volt. So because this is connected to the plus 6 volt, so this plus 6 volt will always be a high input. So because this is the high voltage, so B will be a default high voltage. And what would be the input A? That should come from the remaining voltage over here. Now, the question is, the thing that I want you to understand, if I slowly start to go backwards from here, try to think about it. When the dark room is in use, the light in this thing should be low so that the buzzer will not buzz. If the light is high, then the buzzer will buzz. So let's start by assuming that switch is currently connected to P. I'm just redrawing this circuit to give you a better understanding. So let's say now the switch is connected to P and I want the buzzer to make sound. So let's assume that now there is high light onto this LDR. It means it is now in brightness, which means resistance is low. Resistance is low. Low resistance over here means this one is consuming a smaller amount of voltage. This voltage that we're using is small, which means the voltage over here is actually pretty high, which means A would mean 1. When the switch is connected to P, B is a default 1. So out of both of these 1, we should have
Sir, one can hold a bus.
No, sorry, correct. It's an AND gate.
So out of both of these 1, we should have output 1 because now I want the buzzer to actually go off, and buzzer to make sound. Yeah, কি বলছো? কেন কোশ্চেন করলা একটা?
Sir, high voltage কেন মানে
এটা
high voltage দেখে মানে 1 বলছিল।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ হাই ভোল্টেজটাকে 1 বলছি, লো ভোল্টেজটাকে 0 বলছি। Yes.
Yes.
I'm not sure what you asked, but did you get your question answered?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, fine. So out of both of these 2 high voltage inputs, both 1, this logic gate should give us an output of 1 as well. So that's why I have written 1 over. So why am I expecting a 1 over here? Because whenever there is a 1, it means a significant current flow over here, then this connection should be open and the buzzer should start to make sound. This is what I want. This is how I want the circuit to perform. So for the circuit to perform properly, I would require a logic gate in this place, which should be able to give me a signal when both of the inputs are 1. And for both of the inputs 1 এর জন্য একটা জিনিস বুঝো, both input 1 এর জন্য আমাদের OR গেটও আমাদের আউটপুট 1 দিবে, AND গেটও আমাদেরকে আউটপুট 1 দিবে কিনা? আমি যতটুকু আলাপ করছি ততটুকুর জন্য আলাপ করতেছি, because I'm going to apply the opposite scenario and try to judge it with a different color. I'm going to keep the red color over here, but এইটুকু পর্যন্ত বুঝছো কিনা যে দুইটা ইনপুট যদি 1 হয় তাহলে OR গেটও আমাকে কি দিবে? 1 দিবে, AND গেটও কি দিবে? 1 দিবে। But আমি তো একসাথে দুইটা গেট alternately ইউজ করতে পারবো না বা simultaneously করতে পারবো না। I have to choose one of them. So let's try to go for the opposite scenario and try to see which one fills our requirement. So I'm going to use blue color for this next part of the requirement. For the blue color, the idea is that when the switch will be connected to Q, when the switch will be connected to Q, it means when the room is not in use, the buzzer will not give any sound whatsoever. The buzzer is only supposed to give us a sound if the room is in use and also the light level in the room is high. If both of them are yes, then the buzzer should give us a light. So let's say now the room is not in use, which means the switch is connected to Q. Now, whenever we're going to connect the switch to Q, so this connection is no longer available, then it is taking the voltage from the low voltage end. So this input will become 0. And for this 0 input, we would want a 0 output over here, irrespective of whatever we get here. Irrespective. এখানে আমাদের high voltage, low voltage যাই হোক না কেন, if the room is not in use, the buzzer should not make sound. Simple. Which means for at least 1 0 input, we would want a 0 output. This is achievable in an AND gate. AND gate property হচ্ছে কি? If any of the input is 0, output will be 0. Do you guys understand that?
Yes.
For
Yes,
AND
sir.
gate, you need both of them to be 1 for the output to be 1. So it means if any of the input is 0, your output will become 0, which means for this purpose, the AND gate is our preferable choice. আমি এক্সপ্লেন করে বুঝাইলাম, বাট এক্সপ্লেনেশনটা বুঝাই গেছে কিনা সবার?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Anyone, if you have question, you ask me.
Oh, sir. Hey, oh, no, sir. No.
You either ask me in voice channel or write as a public chat for everyone. I'll respond to both of them. So if we slowly start to go through the questions that we are about trying to answer, the question says what happens to the resistance of the latch? এটা তো পাওয়া যাবে. Write down whether the voltage level is high or low at the various points in the circuit in the following situation. At A, if the light in the dark room. If there is light in the dark room at A, the input to output would be 1. If there is dark in the dark room, the output would be 0. And at switch position P. So switch position P তে connect করা থাকবে. B is taking the input from the plus end of the supply, which would be high. And when it is Q, it should be low. Then it says the output C of the logic gate X is only high when both inputs of NB are logic on. It's the type of the gate of logic gate. So this is actually an AND gate, so you could write AND gate over here. But just to make sure that why an OR gate would not be acceptable, I also explain the blue part. But তোমরা কি বুঝছো যে কেন আমি ফার্স্ট ডেট ডিসিশনটার উপর ডিসিশন নেই নাই? এটা কি বুঝছো?
Yes, sir.
I would like to tell this again. Both OR gate and AND gate gives them one output when their both inputs are 1. For the red discussion, I found that both inputs to be 1 এর জন্য আমার বাজারে সাউন্ড করতে হবে. So for both input 1, I would want 1. এটা AND গেটেরও প্রপার্টি, এটা OR গেটেরও প্রপার্টি, দুইটা গেটই এই জিনিসটা করে. So then I had to judge a different scenario to find out that I do not want the buzzer to go for any other scenario. That's why I went for the blue discussion, and that's why I knew that OR gate would not be acceptable. It has to be only performed by AND gate. So this is the AND gate. Name the component of the component Y. The name of the component is transistor. Transistor spelling ভুল করলে এই মাস সাথে পাবে না পোলাপান. So be careful about the spelling mistake. That makes sense. Pretty good. Question whether or not the students' circuit achieve the aim of providing a warning that there is a light in the dark room when it is in use. So you are basically asked to explain the function of this or working of this circuit. Can you do that?
Yes, sir.
So how do you answer that question? কত মার্ক হয়? 2 মার্ক না? 2 মার্ক.
Yes, sir.
So this is how I would attempt this. When room is in use, comma, B is high voltage, and if there is bright light in the room, input A is also high voltage, which makes the output C high voltage, and base current increases, the buzzer goes off, gives us a warning. It's a check mark, although it's pretty mouthful, but in my opinion, that's 1 mark. And then I'm going to say, when the room is not in use, B input is 0. So irrespective of the value of A, output C is 0, which means buzzer will not make sound if room is not in use. So I think that makes sense. বুঝছো কি বলছি বলাবান? I just explained the whole writing of the red and the blue stuffs that I did over here. I'll say it again. Follow through for those who couldn't catch it up. সেটা হচ্ছে, when room is in use, output B is high voltage, and output A is also high voltage because thermistor has a low resistance. Output C gives a high voltage, comma, large base current, comma, buzzer makes sound. When room is not in use, output B is 0. Sorry, input B is 0, or you can write that input B is low voltage. Input B is 0, comma, so output C is 0 and the buzzer does not make sound. Now, this is how I would appreciate, but I'm pretty sure that the marks given has fewer words. Let's have a look. This is the second last question of the paper. Here it is. Any two of input A high, B high, C high. Transistor switches one or works. Yes. So they didn't give the reverse logic. They're only telling us that the forward logic would work, but they didn't go for the reverse logic. But what I feel like that in designing logic gates, it's also very important to consider the reverse logic, because other than that, how do you deal with it? Nevertheless, বুঝা গেছে কিনা বলো?
Yes, sir.
জি স্যার।
এইটা একটু ট্রাই করি আমরা। সিমিলার কোশ্চেন পড়ো পড়ো। সিমিলার কোশ্চেন কি আইডেন্টিক্যাল কোশ্চেন দেখা যাচ্ছে। হ্যাঁ, আইডেন্টিক্যাল কোশ্চেন। এক্স্যাক্টলি হু এই কোশ্চেনের আমরা একটা করলাম, হুবহু একই কোশ্চেন করছি। লাইট সেন্সরের সাথে নট গেট, তারপর রিলে আর ল্যাম্প। আচ্ছা, ওটাতে ঘাটবো না। লাইট সেন্সরের সাথে নট গেট, রিলে ল্যাম্প, exactly same set of question, practical use, blah. Achha, never mind. I actually have more questions over here, which I did not include in that worksheet. So,
ইলেকট্রনিক্স কি যে অপশনাল হিসাবে আসে?
হ্যাঁ, সব সময়।
বড় বড় থিওরি থাকে নাকি ইলেকট্রনিক্স এ যেটা মুখস্থ করতে হবে?
না,
জাস্ট দিস আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ডিং আর কি।
মানে মোস্ট কমনলি ইলেকট্রনিক্স কোশ্চেনের প্রবলেম মার্ক লুজ করা হচ্ছে জিনিসটা ঠিক মতো না বুঝার জন্য, আর সেকেন্ডারি লেভেলে মার্ক লুজ করা হচ্ছে বুঝে হয়তো ঠিক মতন, কিন্তু প্রপার সিকোয়েন্স অফ লজিককে না লেখার জন্য। তুমি হ্যাফাজেটলি লিখলে তো সেন্স মেক করা ডিফিকাল্ট। So এটার জন্য এটা হচ্ছে না। If you write in terms of cause and effect, that one thing leads to the second leads to the third, and eventually this is happening, that's the better way to মানে get marks. বুঝছো? Okay, this is a nice question. এটা মানে কি? State what is meant by the terms analog and digital.
Analog is continuous physical data, and digital is that binary one, discrete data.
That's actually pretty precise. I honestly don't know the definition of these words. এটা কোন ইয়ারে কোশ্চেন? Major 04, question number 10.
স্যার আব্দুল্লাহ কি বলছিল?
স্যার এই 0625 টা আবার কি?
এটা ক্যামব্রিজ IGCSE.
Sir, electronics question in 5054 is that rare?
Yep.
স্যার তো আমাদের সামনে খুঁজছিল।
এটা কত দেখলাম জানো? ভুলে গেছি তো। 0625 S04 question paper 3 এর question 10. এই যে। Wow. Abdullah, you are precise. Analog means continuously increasing. তোমার কি কম্পিউটার আছে?
কম্পিউটার ল্যাপটপ কম্পিউটার সায়েন্স আছে সাবজেক্ট আছে।
আচ্ছা, হ্যাঁ, আমি ওটা জিজ্ঞেস করছিলাম যে তোমার আইসিটি আছে কিনা। ইয়া,
ওটা থেকে বলছি।
Yeah, so that's the default definition. I don't think that's needed for your syllabus, but yeah, why not? In the compound form, logic are made. Draw a symbol for an AND gate. Label the inputs and the outputs. Describe the action of an AND gate with two inputs. That's it, normal. In the space below, draw a symbol for an OR gate. This is the action of an OR gate, now so inputs and outputs. Basically, this is actually you have to draw the truth table, and that's basically it. A chemical process requires heating at low pressure to work correctly. When the heater is working, the output of a temperature sensor is high. আচ্ছা এটা আনসার করবা কিভাবে বলো তো? How do you propose to answer this one? পড়া যাচ্ছে লেখা by any chance?
স্যার পড়া যাচ্ছে স্যার।
I could zoom on it actually.
জুম করে দিন।
ঠিক আছে, দাঁড়াও জুম করে দেখাচ্ছি। So I'm trying to ask you this one. C1. So if you
স্যার
can,
এখানে কি ট্রুথ টেবল ইউজ করা যাবে?
well, you don't have to write the entire truth table, but since they're asking an explanation, obviously how does the NOR gate works has to come into your explanation, but you don't have to mention the entire truth table. বুঝছি বলছি?
So just এটুকু বললে হয় না যে the 0 and 1 inputs will result in a 0 output in a NOR gate, which is why the indicator lamp is off when the process works correctly.
Yes. So we will require high heat and low pressure. So high temperature থেকে আসবে হচ্ছে 1 input, low pressure থেকে আসবে হচ্ছে 0 output, OR gate এর output হবে হচ্ছে 1, NOR gate এর output হবে 0. So your warning lamp should be off. Warning lamp being off means your process is working properly. Not essentially. আচ্ছা না ঠিক আছে. The question is telling you that explain why the indicator lamp is off when the process is working correctly. Because when the process is working correctly, the inputs to the NOR gate are 1 and 0, the output is 0. So the lamp does not, the warning lamp is switched off while the process, while the chemical reaction actually happens at high temperature, low pressure. So this is actually good. But one thing just popped in my head, which I'd like to share, that is the indicator lamp is off does not essentially mean the process is correct.
Yes, sir.
So pressure high hole to
So the pressure is high and the temperature is high and still.
Exactly. Any of these two things getting reversed, not both of them, any of these two things getting reversed can give you opposite. For example, let's say if this process, if the reaction was happening at, let's say, low temperature and low pressure, তাহলে তো 0 0 1 আচ্ছা হবে না। Then if it was
এটাই যদি হাই হইতো যে লো হাই টেম্পারেচার এন্ড প্রেসার তাহলে তো কিছুই হইতো না। It is a flaw, right?
না দুটোই যদি হাই হয়, for example, let's say if it's working at high temperature and also high pressure, then দুইটা 1 1 এর OR gate হচ্ছে 1, NOR gate হচ্ছে 0. So দুইটাই যদি হাই হয় তখনও কিন্তু আমাদের ওয়ার্নিং ল্যাম্প অফ থাকবে, ঠিক না?
Yes, sir. So the electronic system is flawed.
So that's the point that I'm trying to get to you, that this system is designed in a way that if the process is working correctly, then your warning lamp would be off. But warning lamp off does not entirely mean your process is essentially working correctly. তো আমার কথা কি বোঝা যাচ্ছে?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Because there can be certain scenarios within my reaction chamber that could also keep the warning lamp off, which is not my desired scenario. So, although this is a good thing, but it's not essentially apparently perfect. Okay, set whether the lamp is on or off in the following situation. The pressure is low enough, but the heater stops working. দুটো এগুলো জাস্ট নর গেটের আউটপুট লিখতে বলছে, এগুলো তোমরা মাথা খাটায় লিখবা, এগুলো লিখতে পারবা, এগুলো নিয়ে হাউকা করে লাভ নেই। বড় কোশ্চেন দেখি। How can I get to the next question? Okay. In the space below, draw the symbol of an OR gate. Describe the action of an OR gate in terms of inputs and outputs. A car manufacturer wishes to, আচ্ছা এখানে 6 মার্ক 3 মার্ক এটা দেখি। A car manufacturer wishes to install an alarm system in a two-door car to inform the driver if either door is not properly closed. If either door is not properly closed, an OR gate is to be used in the construction of the system. Describe a suitable input and output arrangement for this gate. আচ্ছা, সো ওরা গেটটা বলে দিছে, গেটের ট্রুথ টেবল আমরা এখানে অলরেডি লিখছি। সো এই গেটটা কিভাবে এখানে ইউজ করতে হবে সেটা বলতে হবে। সো come to think about it, we can say that when any of the door is open,
So when both are
There will
closed,
be
the
high
output is
voltage.
0, but when one of them is open or both, there is
Output will 1.
One.
হ্যাঁ এখানে আমরা আচ্ছা বলবো না এই জিনিসটা আমরা মানে আউটপুট থেকে ব্যাকওয়ার্ডস চিন্তা করলে মনে হয় ইজিয়ার হবে। So I have never solved this question because this was not a part of the worksheet. So I'm actually solving this for the first time. So bear with me. I might be mistaken. So help me as well. If you think that we would want a certain warning lamp to go off, when suddenly warning lamp should light up if any of the door is open. So door open থাকলে আমাদের আউটপুট হাই হইতে হবে যাতে করে ল্যাম্পটা গ্লো করে, which means light on requires an output of 1 from the OR gate, and OR gate output 1 হয় কখন? When any of the input is 1, right?
Sir.
Yes, sir.
তার মানে হচ্ছে আমাদের কোন একটা ডোর ওপেন থাকলেই আমাদের হাই ভোল্টেজ ইনপুট দিতে হবে, which means door remaining open should sense as a high voltage. So open door, so this is the logical thing. So the way I'm going to write this, any of the door remaining open should give an input of high voltage, 1. So when both of them are closed, the output of the OR gate should be 0 and the light would not glow. If any of the door, both of the doors are open, the output would be 1. So the warning lamp should be on. Yeah, I think that makes sense. You see, this is actually pretty interesting because you can see that, yeah, this is actually pretty interesting. I mean, every car, they have this warning lamp system, right? Like any of the doors not closed, the driver knows that some gate is not closed. They can tell. So this is the type of sensor system which are set in the car system where it can detect those problems and eventually work. This is actually pretty nice.
Sir?
Yes.
So আপনি যে মাঝখান দিয়ে বলার সময় স্ল্যাশ বললেন, আমরা কি স্ল্যাশ বলে লিখলাম এরকম লিখতে পারবো?
কোনটা? Each slash
জি স্যার, এরকম স্ল্যাশ দিয়ে।
হ্যাঁ, অবলিক সাইন ইউজ করতে পারো because it is applicable for either of the scenario. You might have any of the door open or both of the door open will give you one output. You can write slash or you can write or, any or both. You can write in spelling or. That also works because it is applicable for this scenario. What is the function of a transistor when placed in an electrical circuit? Bolo, transistor primary function কি?
Amplification of current.
Amplification of current. Beautiful. Describe the action of a transistor. And action.
Sir, functional বলতে আমরা control the flow of current in another circuit.
That's basically amplification of a current or amplification of a signal. It actually controls the other signal by means of what? By means of the input current. So it actually allows the C current based upon how much B current do you have.
Actually, কি বলবো, when a small current flows into the base, a large current flows through the collector and emitter.
I'm trying to think about it.
10A1 এর ফাংশনটা আবার
It works as an it amplifies current flow, full stop. I would write that much, but I'm going to look in the masking for this one as well because I want to find out the exact response for this people. And look at the examiners report would be a very nice thing. I hope I have it. This is W04 question number, question paper 3, question 10. W04. So koi gelam. W04 MS3 question number 10. Switch, relay or amplifier? আচ্ছা তিনটাই দিচ্ছে। নাম্বার 2 তে বলছে, নাম্বার 2 এর কোশ্চেনটা ছিল জানো কি? নাম্বার 2 এর কোশ্চেনটা ছিল হচ্ছে describe the action of a transistor. So what they have given, any of the 3 versions below, each 2 marks. Very base current, transistor switches on for base voltage bigger than 0.6 voltage. এই 0.6 voltage হচ্ছে actually the কি বলে এটা জানো, barrier potential for silicon. So that's why they are using 0.6. If we use in place of silicon,
key potential,
barrier potential.
মানে কি?
Barrier potential means let me go back a little bit. I'll say it slowly, but try to pick up. Whenever we merge one p-type semiconductor and an n-type semiconductor side by side, only 2 of these, not the transistor thing. First, understand this part. At the merging location, the free electrons from the n side jumps to the holes of the p side, and there exists a certain region where there is neither holes and nor any free electrons. If we want this whole piece, which is called a diode, if you want this diode to actually flow current even in the forward bias, we have to apply such a voltage to the across this diode so that electrons can actually overcome this no conductor available region, which is called the depletion layer. Electrons have to jump over this depletion layer to make the current flow possible. And for silicon material, that required voltage, minimum required voltage for that jump to happen by the electrons is 0.6 volt. That's called barrier potential.
What potential?
Barrier
Potential. I get it.
বুঝছো কি বলছি?
Yes, sir. Barrier potential to be crossed 0.6 volt.
So barrier potential cross না করলে তো ইলেকট্রন ওইটু পার হতে পারতেছে না। And then this is also the reason semiconductor device or হচ্ছে ডায়োডের কারেন্ট ফ্লোর গ্রাফটা হচ্ছে এরকম. This actually brings up a very nice thing. দেখাই IV graph for a diode.
সেখানে 3 marks, but any one বলছে 2 marks করে, আরেকটা মার্কস কিসে স্যার?
দাঁড়া দেখা যাচ্ছে 1 মিনিট। এই যে IV গ্রাফের ডায়োডের শেপ হচ্ছে এরকম। এই যে দেখো, এই যে থ্রেশহোল্ড ভোল্টেজ লেখা না, এই থ্রেশহোল্ড ভোল্টেজটাই হচ্ছে তোমার barrier potential. এখানে ওরা লিখছে 0.7 ভোল্ট, but CI people they accepted 0.6 volt. So up to this much the current flow will not be as significant, but beyond this volt the current flow will become significantly large. আর এদিকে হচ্ছে আমাদের রিভার্স ভোল্টেজ, রিভার্স ভোল্টেজ একটা সার্টেন পার পর্যন্ত ডায়োড আমাদের ভোল্টেজটাকে অপোজ করতে হবে, বাট ইফ ইউ কিপ অন ইনক্রিজিং দ্য রিভার্স ভোল্টেজ, there comes a certain point when the diode cannot handle that high opposite potential anymore, and it will just crash. That barrier would just like breaking a dam with extreme high pressure of water, something like that, and then a large reverse current will apply, will actually produce a significant current. This is what we call the it's called the breakdown voltage, or it has another name. I think it's also called the Zener voltage, Zener diode.
Sir, if this voltage is reached, does not mean that the diode is not functional anymore.
That is destroyed. Yes, we have to replace that for it to work again. When you have to replace that with a new one for that circuit to work properly. আচ্ছা, সেকেন্ড মার্কটা বলছে কি দেখি, সেকেন্ড মার্কটা বলছে হচ্ছে এটা স্মল চেঞ্জ ইন বেস কারেন্ট produces a large current in the collector emitter current. To be honest, this number 2 is what I have discussed more elaborately with you. Then it says very potential divider connected to the transistor base, transistor switches on for voltage of potential very এখানে B মানে হচ্ছে voltage of base and emitter, that boundary has to be bigger than 0.6 volt. So that actually works. This is the dollar symbol for an OR gate. This is the action of an OR gate. It has two inputs. Actually, ঠিক আছে। এরপর কি আছে? No. আচ্ছা। In the specified dollar symbol for an OR gate, label the inputs and the outputs, state whether the output of an OR gate will be high, on or off, when the one of the both inputs are high. The figure 9.1 shows a digital circuit made from 3 NOT gates and 1 NAND gate, right, high or low in each case of the boxes in figure 9.1. So, বলো তোমরা বলো আমি লিখি।
মানে 3 মার্কস এর একটা ডিস্ট্রিবিউশন
এইটার
না যে অ্যাকশন অফ আ ট্রানজিস্টর মানে 2 মার্কস ছিল না যে বলছে এনি ওয়ান অফ দ্য 3।
এই যে এখানে 1 মার্ক,
ও ও ও ও
এখানে 2। আচ্ছা, এরপরে কোশ্চেনটা ছিল হচ্ছে কত W05 QP3 পাইলে হয় W05 QP3 এটা না? Yes. All right, kids, help me fill this thing, blanks. So এখানে কি হবে? বক্স, এই বক্সে কি হবে?
লো।
হাইয়ের পরে নট হয়ে লো, তার নিচেরটাতে
হাই।
হাই
হাই,
তারপর লো হাই একসাথে এসে নট
হাই।
হাই
আচ্ছা, NAND গেট। আচ্ছা, এন্ড আউটপুট হওয়ার কথা হচ্ছে লো, নট থাকাতে সেটা হয়ে যাবে হচ্ছে আবার হাই।
হাই
হাই আবার রিভার্স হয়ে হবে হচ্ছে
লো।
Well, that was not difficult. State the effect of the output of changing both the inputs. State the effect of on the output changing both the inputs. So basically now you have to consider that if high becomes low and low becomes high, this will simply may reverse them, which means the output would be same. বুঝছো?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
NAND গেটের পরে হাই কেন হবে?
কোনটা? এইটা?
NAND গেটের পরে, হ্যাঁ।
আচ্ছা, এখানে তো লো এন্ড হাই আসছে, তার মানে হচ্ছে আগে শুধু AND গেটের অপারেশনটা বলছে। AND গেটের অপারেশন হচ্ছে কি? AND গেট হচ্ছে if any of them is low, output will be low, right? AND gate
হ্যাঁ,
what?
sir.
হ্যাঁ,
আচ্ছা, not low, হ্যাঁ।
আবার নট লো মানে হাই, ঠিক আছে। তো তার মানে হচ্ছে এখানে আমরা লিখবো হচ্ছে স্টেট বলছো তো, you can just say remains the same, unchanged, unaltered, any of those words functions well, no big deal. আচ্ছা, এখানে এটা দেখি, at the name of the components label ABCD, easy 2 marks, but then again you make a spelling error, you lose the mark altogether. Which of the 4 components ABCD acts as a switch? Okay, this is a good one. Which one acts as a switch?
C
সি
দ্বিত বাল্ব, দ্বিত গ্লো করবে। C
সি
works as a switch. Reason why the lamp comes on as it goes dark. You know how this thing whole works. We have discussed this kind of questions quite a lot, so I'm skipping that. এরপরটা বলছে figure 10.1 shows an AND gate. It's a pretty long AND gate with two inputs and N B outputs. Set the output when A is high and B is low. Both A and B are low. Analytical thermometer in a greenhouse. Greenhouse is coming in. An analytical thermometer in a greenhouse gives a low output if the temperature is too low. A humidity sensor in the same greenhouse gives a high output if the humidity in the greenhouse is too high. ঠিক আছে. An alarm sounds when both the temperature is too low and the humidity is too high. Complete the diagram below to show how a NOT gate and an AND gate may be used to provide the required output to the alarm. Okay. We want the alarm to go off. When? When both of them are low.
Sir, এগুলাকে just NAND gate দিতে পারি না directly?
Yeah, you could draw an AND gate, and on the right side you can draw an individual and NOT gate because they have expected two individual gates. And কথা হচ্ছে directly NAND gate দিলে কি হবে?
Sir, output তো সেমই থাকে।
না, এই জিনিসটা দেখো, an alarm sounds when both the temperature. Let me just take it into workable form.
স্যার কোনটা আগে দিতে হবে, AND gate নাকি NOT gate?
এটাই তো তোমার চিন্তা করে বাই করতে হবে, এটা আমি তোমাকে বলতে যাচ্ছি না, বাট লেটস ট্রাই টু ফাইন্ড ইট আউট টুগেদার।
AND gate আগে দিতে হবে
স্যার আগে AND gate তারপরে
নট তো দুইটা নেয় না।
দাঁড়াও আমার কখনো আইসিটি ছিল না, আই রিয়েলি হ্যাভ টু থিংক ইট থ্রু। হোল্ড আপ। সো required output to the alarm. So আমাদের এখানে অ্যালার্মটা আমরা চালাতে যাচ্ছি হচ্ছে for temperature too low. So when the temperature, so এটার ইনপুট যখন 0 হবে আর এটার ইনপুট যখন 1 হবে তখন এই অ্যালার্মটা সাউন্ড করতে হবে। এখন 1 এবং 0 এর জন্য
So electrical thermometer for NOT gate and তারপরে AND gate.
NOT gate এখানে দিতে পারে। আমি যে চিন্তা করতেছি যে NOT gate আগে দিতে হবে কোথাও। এখানে একটা NOT gate দিলাম, তারপর এখানে একটা AND gate দিলাম। AND gate তো হবে আইসক্রিমের মতো। সো আচ্ছা, কনসিডার দিস an AND gate, এন্ড তারপর হচ্ছে আউটপুট দিলে হয়। NAND gate আমি কেন দিব? NAND gate দিলে আমার লাভ কি? NAND gate দিলে হচ্ছে যদি আমার উল্টাটা হয় তাও তো আমার সাউন্ড অ্যালার্ম করবে। I think this one works. বললাম দেখো তো এটা ঠিক আছে কিনা? Everyone, judge. I think this is okay.
Yes, sir.
আচ্ছা, on your diagram I use either high or low to indicate the level of the inputs and inputs that both gives us. So এখানে actually ওরা লিখতে বলছে, so তার মানে হচ্ছে তোমার এখানে হাই, এখানে লো লিখতে হবে, লো হাই হাই হাই, চারটা ওয়ার্ড লিখতে হবে। চারটা ওয়ার্ড লেখার জন্য 2 মার্ক। I'd like to see how did they work for the ECF of this question. I'm very interested to see the ECF information for this question. No ECF দেওয়া থাকলে তো কোনো কথাই নেই, the discussion dies there. W07 QB3 question number 10. So temperature sensor to NOT gate input correct symbol, output of NOT gate condon current correct symbol. So condon মানে কি? My vocabulary sucks. Accept. Why don't you write accept? Behavior that is considered morally wrong or offensive. Acha, accept the wrong. তোমরা তোমাকে বুঝতে আমি কেন হাসতেছি?
অতিরিক্ত ফরম্যাট ওরা।
It's an accept. It's to accept something even if it's wrong. I mean, মানে সহ্য করা আর কি, basically. So in this case, the Marx scheme says that temperature sensor to not get input card symbol, এটা কাট হইতে হবে। output of not gate condone in card symbol and humidity, মানে হচ্ছে এখানে যদি নট গেটের সিম্বল ভুলও দেয়, বাট এই একটা সিম্বল থেকে একটা দাগ এসে হিউমিডিটি থেকে দুইটা দাগ এসে একসাথে একটা অ্যান্ড ইনপুটে লাগবে, তাইলে হচ্ছে টোটাল মিলে হচ্ছে 1 মার্ক। আচ্ছা, not low in, high out, and both inputs high output, not B0 for states on wrong diagram. ও আচ্ছা, মানে এই ডায়াগ্রাম মানে এখানে কোনো ইসিএফ নাই, বেসিক কথা। যদি এই ডায়াগ্রাম ভুল হয় তাহলে মোট মিলে 0। বুঝছো কি বলছে? B0 for states on wrong diagram, মানে if your diagram is wrong, then you simply are not gonna score question number 2. There is no ECF for this question. It is sad but true. Metallica. সেটা গেল। Might as well look in this. So দেখি এই কোশ্চেনে কি বলছে। If your element 1 is an electronic circuit controlling an electric heater, the relay contacts close when there is a current in the relay coil. So the name of the component. So the name of the logic circuit in logic gate in the circuit. Logic gate koi dekhlo.
Not gate.
Acha, not gate. Acha, sorry. So the name of the component P, thermistor, state what happens to P when temperature falls. Its resistance increases. For the relay to operate, the output of the gate must be high, logic 1. What is the input of the gate for the relay to operate? 0, logic 0. কোশ্চেন দেখতে গেলে তো আবার সার্কিট দেখা যায় না, কি একটা অবস্থা। Hopefully this will work better. Does it work better?
Yes.
It does.
Okay. Sita বলছে for the circuit for the relay to operate, the output of the gate must be 1, must be high, logic 1. What must be the input of the gate for the relay to operate? 0. So what the resistance of P must be compared to resistance of Q in order to give this input of the gate. Okay, we want to get 0 input here. 0 input over here মানে হচ্ছে আমার এই পয়েন্টের ভোল্টেজ হতে হবে লো। এই পয়েন্টের ভোল্টেজ লো হওয়া মানে হচ্ছে এই রেজিস্ট্যান্সকে সিগনিফিকেন্ট পার্ট অফ দ্য ভোল্টেজ খাই ফেলতে হবে। বললাম বুঝো কি বলতেছি? আবার বলতেছি, এই রিলে এনার্জাইজ হওয়ার জন্য এখানে লাগবে 1, তার মানে এখানে লাগবে 0, তার মানে এটা হইতে হবে হচ্ছে লো ভোল্টেজ আউটপুট। তার মানে দিস শুড বি ক্লোজার টু 0 ভোল্ট কম্পেয়ার্ড টু 5 ভোল্ট, which means এই যে 5 ভোল্ট যে ভোল্টেজ ডিফারেন্স, 5 ভোল্ট ভোল্টেজ ডিফারেন্স that is applied across the thermistor and the 5 volt resistor, the thermistor should consume significant part of this voltage, so that a very small fraction of voltage remaining over here, ultimately making this input 0, which should mean this one should have a significantly high resistance compared to the variable resistor. Now, in which temperature thermistor has a high resistance?
No.
Temperature. So এখানে কোশ্চেন আমাদেরকে বলছে state what the resistance of P must be compared to the resistance of Q in order to give this input to the gate. P must be of high resistance, higher than Q. And what conditions will P have this resistance? Low temperature. So that's why component Q is a variable resistor rather than one of the fixed value. So that
the heater
So
can
when
be
up there
controlled.
people, they will turn on the light at night.
Reset.
no.
Heater can be controlled.
So that the exit temperature when the relay coil closes can be changed upon requirement. মানে using this variable resistor, it will enable that exactly at which temperature will this voltage actually make this whole thing to start working. We can precisely connect that. এটা আলাপ তো আমাদের করছিলাম যে I mean, if you don't have a variable register over here, if you don't have only have a fixed register, this entire circuit will get the switch on and off effect at a very specific temperature, not for at a very specific predefined temperature, which cannot be controlled or changed by the user. But if you have a variable register, you have that opportunity. এটা ওয়ার্ডিংটা একটু দেখা দরকার, এটার ওয়ার্ডিংটা আমি দেখতে ইন্টারেস্ট। এটা হচ্ছে কত নাম্বার কোশ্চেন? W0932 এর 11। Oh, this is interesting. বলুন দেখছো?
Yes.
I think I should give you this marking just so that you can read this thing. I will right now. তোমরা কোথায়? চাপন খালি ডিফারেন্ট জায়গায় মাছ ধরে আর খালি মাছ পাক করে মাছের চলে যায়। আমার স্কুল ফ্রেন্ড এই যে মাছ। Kids, my mom is here. Say assalamu alaikum or greet her.
আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
Assalamu alaikum.
আসসালামু আন্টি।
ওয়ালাইকুম আসসালাম। ভালো আছো তোমরা?
Auntie.
আপনি কেমন
জি আন্টি।
আপনি?
আলহামদুলিল্লাহ, আল্লাহ রাখছে ভালো, ইনশাআল্লাহ। তোমরা সবাই ভালো লেখাপড়া করো। আমার ছেলেকে বলি যে ভালো করে পড়াও সবাইকে। আজকে অনেকদিন হয়েছে, 1 মাস হয়ে গেছে।
They know. I told them. আচ্ছা, মাছ কিনতে যাচ্ছিলাম, মাছ কিনতে আবার মিউজ করে ফেললাম। সেটা ছিল হচ্ছে কত নাম্বার কোশ্চেন? W0932 কোশ্চেন নাম্বার 11। কোশ্চেন নাম্বার 11 ওরা ওয়ার্ড ইউজ করছে হচ্ছে অ্যাডজাস্টমেন্ট অফ দ্য টেম্পারেচার। আচ্ছা হ্যাঁ, অ্যাডজাস্টমেন্ট, বিউটিফুল ওয়ার্ড। Forget this word. I said that change the temperature at requirement. That's basically adjustment. To allow adjustment of the temperature at which the relatively closer heater comes on. Yeah. Adjustment is a beautiful word. আচ্ছা, এরপরে কোশ্চেনটা কি ছিল জানো? Such a practical use for this circuit. What? This is a practical use for the circuit. The most common practical use for room heating. I mean, in the winter or yeah. তাই না? Temperature goes down in your room. The AC turns on the electrical heater. Your room heats up, and then yeah. Automatic control or words to that effect of a heating system, air conditioning, automatic room heater, or thermostat, or any other sensible such involved in control of heating. That's okay. Beats me. Let's now remember that describe what is necessary in the diagram. The function of an amp is এটা লাগবে না, পড়ছি এটা মানে লাগবে, but we have gone through this stuff. A student carries out an experiment. সেটা বড় করে দেখি। A student carries out an experiment with the circuit shown in figure 11.1. The component in the dash box is labeled X is a diode. On figure 11, draw the card symbol for a diode connected either way around in the dash box labeled X. In the dash box labeled X. সেখানে ডায়া রাখতে বলছে। আচ্ছা, এটা ডায়া রাখলাম। Plus 6 volt is applied to point A, 0 volt is applied to point B. State what the student observes on the ammeter. Okay, so এখানে প্রথমে বলছে হচ্ছে we could draw the diode in any direction that we want. That's what they say in the first place. এগুলো দিয়ে লিখলে কি হবে? Wow. Why can't I select this one? I cannot select this one. মানে কি? আশ্চর্য। ওয়াও, এমএস পেন্টে এরকম ইফেক্ট আছে, বলুন দেখছো?
Yes, sir.
দেখতেছি। I didn't have a new. I just
So watercolor
brush
on the plus.
button just right now, and I'm finding out new stuff. Oh, life is such full of.
Sir, painter হয়ে যান।
আর না, আমি পেইন্ট করতে পারলে তো হইতোই। আমি পেইন্ট করতে পারি। I mean, to be honest, everyone can paint. Like the way everyone can drive. If I did paint, I would not make money out of it. Like the way if I can drive. Let's say I can drive, but if I did drive on a road, I would kill people. So saying I cannot drive is not correct. Everyone can drive, correctly or incorrectly. That's the difference.
Yes, sir.
I'm losing my cursor here. Why am I losing my cursor? এখানে কার্সার আছে, বাট এমএস পেনে ঢুকলে কার্সার চলে গেছে। What is this? Okay, I think we are better now. Acha, in this case, they have sent the character connected either way around. Either way around, we could draw this in any orientation that you want. So whatever the orientation that you draw over here, your answer should be relevant to that connection type. So for example, in this case, I have drawn it to the right side. So when this is plus and this is minus volt, we experience 1 ampere current in this display. So what the student observes in the ammeter, 1 ampere reading. Do you understand why 1 ampere?
Yes, sir.
Ohm. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Analysis voltage apply করলে হচ্ছে 0 ampere. Or you could write 0 ampere, or you could directly write 0 reading. সেটাও হয় null reading. আচ্ছা, ভোল্টেজ তো এটা তখন দেখতে হলে এটা আবার পাশে আনতে হবে। লাভটা কি হলো? আচ্ছা, হ্যাঁ, এখানে বলছে the voltage shown in figure 11.2 is applied to the point A of the circuit of figure 11.1. Point B is kept at 0. Acha. So we're gonna apply a variable voltage at point A, AC supply, and this one is still connected at 0 voltage. On figure we're going to draw a graph of the readings indicated by the voltmeter. আচ্ছা, এখানে একটা জিনিস খেয়াল করো বলাবান, এই জিনিসটা খুব ইন্টারেস্টিং। If we apply some voltage over here, for positive voltages over here, positive voltages over here, there will be actual current flow through this circuit, and the voltmeter will give us some reading, which means in this graph, we are only gonna draw something on the graph that is non-zero for this segment and for this segment. Again, এই দুটো পার্ট বুঝো। Only when this voltage is positive, we're gonna have some current flow, and that will give us some voltmeter reading. But if whenever this is negative, there will be zero current flow through this circuit, so that this voltmeter reading will be a default 0. So as far as in the way that I have drawn my circuit, whenever the A is connected to the negative end of the circuit, let me draw with red, this part of the voltmeter reading should be 0, This part of the voltmeter reading should also be 0. এই পার্টটুকু আগে ঠিকমতো বুঝতেছে কিনা দেখো। বলবান। Because for these two segments the diode would be in reverse bias. Reverse bias থাকলে সে কোনো কারেন্ট ফ্লো দিবে না, কারেন্ট ফ্লো না দিলে আমাদের সার্কিটে কোথাও কোনো ভোল্টেজ ড্রপও হবে না। Because V equals to IR. So ভোল্টেজ ড্রপ হইতে হলে তোমার কারেন্টও লাগবে, রেজিস্ট্যান্সও লাগবে। এখানে রেজিস্ট্যান্স আছে বাট কারেন্টও নাই। So the club is the best place to find Fardin high. I'm sure that was an honest mistake. So in these two places we're gonna have flat lines so that this should not be this part. আর আরেকটা জিনিস হচ্ছে যে এখানে যখন আমরা ভোল্টেজ অ্যাপ্লাই করব, so we are applying a 6 volt over here. এখন কোশ্চেন হচ্ছে if you apply 6 volt over here, if when 6 volt is applied over here, what should be the voltage reading of this thing? Hello?
Yes sir.
এখানে যখন 6 volt অ্যাপ্লাই করব তখন এই ভোল্টেজ রিডিং কত হবে? 3 volt
3 volt
3 volts মানে হচ্ছে এখানে দেখো এখানে আমরা যে সাইনোসয়েডাল যে কার্ভটা অ্যাপ্লাই করছি এই কার্ভের হাইয়েস্ট পিক ভোল্টেজ হচ্ছে 6 ভোল্ট সো when this is 6 volt we get you can essentially say that in that case the reading would be at 6 division, so this would be my peak over here and the whole graph would practically follow this pattern because all of these values would be simply become half. So if you really want to draw multiple other points you can, for example here this is 4 divisions, so you're going to have 2 divisions. Here this is 8 divisions, 7 divisions, so you're going to have 3.5. So 3.5 right over here. Here you have, let's say 10 divisions over here. So you pretty much get my point. So this will be your peak point, so you have to draw a curve that looks like this. Amar plastic
peak point at 3 থাকলেই তো ম্যাটার করে, রাইট?
হ্যাঁ, পিক পয়েন্টে 3 ম্যাটার করবে এবং হচ্ছে এই যে আমার ড্রয়িং এ দেখেন এখানে একটা ভিজিবল একটা কর্নার দেখা যাচ্ছে। ডু ইউ সি দ্যাট? and it looks like this, এরকম কর্নার দেখা যাচ্ছে। এরকম কর্নার হতে পারবে না, it should be smooth curved, visibly smooth। আবার এরকম ওভার রাইটিং হলো সমস্যা। সো এটা এখানে হবে, এইটুকু হবে হচ্ছে ফ্ল্যাট, এই জিনিসটা হুবহু এখানে কপি হবে। সো আই এম গোনা লেবেল দিস 3 over here just to show off to the examiner that I know my shit which they appreciate by the way, and that's how this graph should look like. বললাম দেখো গ্রাফের কনস্ট্রাকশনটা বুঝা গেছে কিনা, না বুঝা গেলে কোশ্চেন করো, I'll help.
Understood sir.
Everyone else respond.
Yes sir.
কারণ এখানে কথা হচ্ছে এই ডায়ারটা যদি রিভার্স দেখানো হতো পুরো কোশ্চেনটা উল্টা যেত। উল্টানো যেত মানে if this diode was counted in the other way around and towards the left, then this would be 0 ampere reading, this would be 1 ampere reading, and for that graph there would be a downward -3 level graph, but this part should be 0 0. This whole thing would be reverted, but in that case reading would be seen for the negative voltage applied and for positive voltage would be 0. Pretty unlikely, but if for some people who want to do it that way it can also be that. The masking would also pretty much dictate the same thing. Just to see what the masking holds for us. W12 32 11A. W12 32 11A. Triangle with the bar apex pointing either way, not circle at apex. আচ্ছা, মানে এটা হচ্ছে ডায়োডের সিম্বল। Condone enclosing circle, but must have horizontal lines to form triangle. No lines through the triangle. Triangle filled in. বলো মানে এগুলো কেন করবে? তোমরা বুঝতেছো এখানে ওরা কি বলছে? এই ডায়োড সিম্বল অ্যারাউন্ড যদি কেউ সার্কেল দেয় তাকে মার্ক দিতে বলছে, বাট ট্রায়াঙ্গেলের ভিতরে কোনো লাইন দিতে পারবে না। অথবা কেউ যদি ট্রায়াঙ্গেলটাকে কালো করে দেয় মানে বুঝছো, someone just makes this hashed, they still get that mark. What is this? Half waves of alternating half cycles, reasonable shape for characteristic frequency and amplitudes of 2.5 to 3 volt and flats 0 volt plus minus 1 small square. So acha plus minus 1 small square তারা এটা হচ্ছে and they have considered the examiner's mistake, examinee's mistake, and এখানে হচ্ছে 2.5 থেকে 3 volt কেন দিচ্ছে I'm not sure. This should be exactly at 3 volt because I can see 3 ohm 3 ohm, so there is no reason for this to be. I think this was a range for, because this is supposed to be a hand-drawn graph, so that's why the examiners gave some leeway to the students. Actually, there is more part to this question. This is the second part of the question, which there is the second showing figure contains two switches S1 and S2 and two indicator lamps L1 and L2. Okay, this is a different type of circuit. Might as well look into it. Name the component Z transistor. Write the name. Complete the table to state whether the lamps are on or off with the switches in the positions shown. So, one at a time consider. So, have a look. When switch 1 is open and switch 2 is closed. So, if this is closed,
স্যার তাহলে দুইটা ল্যাম্প চলবে?
হ্যাঁ, কারেক্টর তো কারেন্ট যাবে না।
আর কোনোটাই তো মনে জ্বলবে না।
দাঁড়াও দেখতেছি এক মিনিট। If switch, acha, for this whole thing to work, current has to flow in this direction. ঠিক আছে, এটা আগে বুঝো। For any of these lamps to glow, to be honest, when L1 will glow, L2 will also glow. You cannot have one of them glow, other one is not glowing, because if this branch flows current, this current will flow through both of them. ঠিক না?
Yes, sir.
কথা বুঝো। If this branch actually flows current, this current will be flow through both of the lamps. If it means if the lamps glow, both of them will glow. If the lamps do not glow, none of them will glow. So then we have to judge how we can make the lamp glow. For the lamps to glow, current has to flow through this channel. And এই channel current flow হইতে হইলে current এদিক দিয়ে আসার পর এদিক দিয়ে flow হইতে হবে. Because this is the positive end, high voltage, and this is the negative end. ঠিক না? So কারেন্ট এদিক দিয়ে এসে এদিক দিয়ে ফ্লো হতে পারবে, কারেন্ট তো এদিক দিয়ে এসে এদিক দিয়ে ফ্লো হতে পারবে না, পারবে? দেখো এদিক দিয়ে কি কারেন্ট ফ্লো হওয়া পসিবল? দিস ইজ দ্য নেগেটিভ ভোল্টেজ। বুঝো, পরমান কথা বুঝো। কারেন্ট ফ্লো এখানে, কারেন্ট ফ্লোটা এদিক দিয়ে হওয়া পসিবল, এদিক দিয়ে কি হওয়া পসিবল কিনা?
নো স্যার।
নো
ডিভাইসের কারেন্ট ফ্লো হওয়া, তার মানে হচ্ছে এই ডিরেকশনে কারেন্ট ফ্লো হইতে হইলে আমার এই সুইচটা অবশ্যই ক্লোজ থাকতে হবে। আবার এই সুইচটা ক্লোজ থাকতে পারবে না, কারণ এই সুইচটা যদি সাইমালটেনিয়াসলি ক্লোজ হয় তখন আবার এই প্যাথওয়ে দিয়ে শর্ট সার্কিট হয়ে যাবে। শর্ট সার্কিট হয়ে গেলে ব্যাটারি জ্বলে যাবে। We cannot have both of the switches simultaneously closed because that will produce a short circuit which is going to burn out our battery. So either of them has to be open or both of them can be open. So when S1 is open and S2 is, sorry, when S1 is closed and S2 is open, then current can flow through the base current and both of the lights will be on. So this is S1 closed, S2 open. এখানে হচ্ছে on, এখানে হচ্ছে on. But for the other thing, it should be off and off.
স্যার দুইটাই মানে দুটো সুইচই ওপেন থাকলে তাহলে হবে না?
না, S1 ওপেন থাকলে তোমার এখানে কোনো কারেন্ট ফ্লো হবে না। দুইটা সুইচ ওপেন থাকলে তো কোনো কিছুই হবে না, because that's just not completing the circuit. Whenever both switches are open, you have to understand this thing. Whether this light bulbs will glow or not is dependent on whether this one is closed or not. If this one is closed, this branch can have some current which will enable the current through this pathway and eventually the light bulbs will be on. But you cannot have both of the switches closed simultaneously because that will produce a short circuit. That's the basic part. So if both of the switches are open, you're not going to have any of the light bulbs on because both of the switches open means no current is happening through this path. If base current is 0, your C current is also 0. ঠিক না?
Yes, sir.
So that works. I might have a look at the mark scheme. We have it available. Here, first line both off, second line both on. So it scored full marks. Give one compensatory mark, one line both on and second line both off. So except high low 1 0. Okay. Ignore ticks or crosses or yes or no. আচ্ছা এক্স্যাক্টলি অন অর অফই লিখতে হবে, এগুলা হাবিজাবি কথাবার্তা লিখলে হবে না। হাইলো লিখলে আবার মার্কস দিতে বলছে, কিন্তু কেউ যদি এটা রিভার্সটা লিখে, এটা রিভার্সে যদি কেউ লিখে তাকে অ্যাটলিস্ট 1 মার্ক দিতে বলছে, কম্পালসরি মার্ক। সো দিস ইজ ফর দ্য আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ডিং দ্যাট they understood that for one stage it will be on, for other stage it will be off, but both of them would be off or on simultaneously. A concept tara ekhane edit kore. If someone messes up these two positions, it means if someone write on the top rows and off at the bottom row, then they at least understood this concept that if glows, both of them will glow simultaneously. If doesn't glow, both of them will go, both of them will not glow simultaneously. So for that concept, they are asked to give one compensatory mark. বুঝা যাচ্ছে এই মার্কটা কেন দিছে? বিকজ এইটা অ্যাচিভ করতে হলেও তার কিছু নলেজ প্রপারলি অ্যাপ্লাই করতে হয়েছে, which was not entirely correct but partially correct, so partial mark was given. Good.
Yes, sir. Understood.
So that pretty much concludes the discussion on the electronics and the gates and the transistor thing. I think this was a pretty elaborate discussion. Should be fulfilling. Thank you very much. আর হচ্ছে আমি হোপফুলি তোমাদেরকে শুক্রবার দিনে ওয়ার্কশিট নোটস এগুলো কালেক্ট করাটা ডেট দিতে পারি। I have managed everything pretty much. All that it requires now sorting and making them grow. So তোমরা যে কাজটা করবা, বলবান আমি এটা বলে দিচ্ছি আজকে, পরে ভুলে জানা যায়। তোমরা যাকে বুকলেট কালেক্ট করতে পাঠাও বা যদি নিজে আসো, একটা পিস অফ পেপারে কিছু জিনিস লিখে নিয়ে আসবা। কি লিখবা সেটা বলতেছি, নাম, রোল নাম্বার, what stuffs do you need, what stuffs do you need হচ্ছে কি কি বলতেছি। সিলেবাসের মোট টপিক কয়টা বলবান? সিলেবাসের মোট
কোশ্চেনটা বুঝিনি।
সিলেবাসের মোট টপিক কয়টা? 6টা। নিউটন মেকানিক্স, থার্মাল, ওয়েভ, ইলেকট্রিসিটি, ম্যাগনেটিজম, অ্যাটমিক ফিজিক্স এন্ড ইলেকট্রনিক্স। অ্যাটমিক ফিজিক্স ইলেকট্রনিক্স একসাথে, দ্যাটস দ্য লাস্ট পার্ট। সো তোমরা আমার সাথে কবিতা পর্যন্ত ইলেকট্রিসিটি বা মামুন ধরতে বলো, মামুনের কথা হতে বলো, তাহলে কারে দাও, সরি। সো তোমরা আমার সাথে কবিতার আগ পর্যন্ত নিউটন মেকানিক্স পাইছো আমার থেকে, ইলেকট্রিসিটি পাইছো। তোমাদের ইলেকট্রিসিটি পেপারটা আমার কাছে চেক করার জন্য ছিল, ওগুলো অ্যাকচুয়ালি চেক করা হয় নাই। আই স্টিল হ্যাভ দেম, আই রিটার্ন দেম টু ইউ whenever you show up for your paper. সো ওটার পেপার টুটা তোমরা আমার কাছে পেয়ে যাবা এক। and some of you might have actually printed the worksheets on your own, so you might not need the worksheets, but none of you actually have the notes because the notes were not provided properly. So কোন টপিকের নোট, কোন টপিকের ওয়ার্কশিট সেট লাগবে সেগুলা ঠিক মতো লিখে নিয়ে আসবা, so that it's easy for you to provide those information. বুঝছো কি বলছি? মনে করতে
ইলেকট্রনিক্সও থাকবে।
হ্যাঁ, ইলেকট্রনিক্সও থাকবে। ইলেকট্রনিক্সের ওয়ার্কশিট এবং মার্কস যেটা আমি এইমাত্র তোমাদেরকে দিলাম ওটা আমি প্রিন্ট করে দিব, ডোন্ট ওয়ারি। সো যেটা আমি বলছি কিরকম, মনে করো হচ্ছে তোমার ওয়েভ চ্যাপ্টার নোটস লাগবে, ফুল ওয়ার্কশিটও লাগবে। সো তুমি লিখবা ওয়েভস নোটস কমা ওয়ার্কশিট P1 কমা P2 কমা মার্কস স্কিম, তার মানে ওয়েভস এর ফুল সেট তোমার লাগবে। এখন মনে করো হচ্ছে তুমি থার্মাল যখন পড়াইছো, থার্মালের ওয়ার্কশিট মার্ক তুমি প্রিন্ট করে তুমি অলরেডি ওটা তোমার নিজের মতো সলভ করছো, সো ইউ অনলি নিড দ্য নোটস। সো তুমি থার্মাল ড্যাশ নোটস কমা নোটস ফুল স্টপ, তার মানে হচ্ছে পরেগুলো তোমার লাগবে না। তো সো তুমি ওটা শুধু নোটসটা কালেক্ট করবা। বুঝছো কি বলছি?
Yes, sir.
এটা প্রপারলি
স্যার আমার কিছু চ্যাপ্টারের নোটগুলো ইনকমপ্লিট, আমি কি ওই চ্যাপ্টারটা নিতে পারি? ইলেকট্রিসিটি,
whatever you need for completion or for full delivery, you can collect them. I have the names listed for the P4 collection. So P4 total judgment college course, actually what I have seen that more people have collected the P4 booklets compared to what the number of people actually do classes, which I really don't mind because there's a big gap, so people can be confused a lot. Irrespective, I'll have enough printouts for all of you, and my recommendation request, যখন কালেক্ট করতে আসবা জিনিসটা গুছায় লেখা নিয়ে আসো, so that it is easier for you to deliver what you want, because তুমি মুখে মুখে একজনকে বলবা, সে শুনে শুনে তোমাকে বের করে দিবে, that's difficult to do. বুঝছো কি বলছি?
Yes, sir.
বলবান?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir.
আচ্ছা, আর হচ্ছে if your payments are all, if any of you want to pay the fees on directly by hand, you can also bring up the payments if you feel like it, or you can use the online method, whatever works for you. It's not essential that you have to pay the fees on the day of collection, but if you want to, you can do that as well. So money is to be available as well. Kids, thank you very much for the additional time of duration, and good night. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
I'm gonna stop the recording.